with legal news and views.
Welcome, Legal News and Views. I'm Jeff.
Dave here on a rainy day in Vincennes.
We are live, as the intro suggests, here at the old Brevoort House, corner of 6th and Busserin, downtown Vincennes. Come join us if you wish, but by far the easier way is to call.
And the door's locked. Don't come visit.
Oh, the door's open when I came through.
Because she saw you coming in.
She locked when she saw you coming?
She locked it after me.
Oh, if you can tell, it's a live broadcast, folks. But the phone number, the phone number, 812-882-3737. Scott's standing by, waiting for your call, anxious to have someone to talk to. And hopefully your question is of a legal nature, but who cares? We'll talk to you about most anything. 812-882-3737. Otherwise, Dave and I go about our merry way, talking about things that may or may not interest you of a legal nature, including, Michael Avenatti. If you are just listening to the show, you may not know, Michael Avenatti is a lawyer. He represented Stormy Daniels in her lawsuit against Trump. Used to be on talk shows all the time, even some of them saying, oh, you'd make a great presidential candidate. Well, so much for his 15 minutes of fame and fortune. As previously reported, he has been charged with 36 counts of fraud, tax evasion, and other alleged crimes. Specifically, he's allegedly stole $300,000 from Stormy Daniels. Nice guy. Well, here's the latest on the story. He doesn't have any money. You, the taxpayer, are going to help pay for his lawyer because this high-flying guy that drove fancy sports cars, lived in a very expensive apartment, has proven to the court, to the judge's satisfaction, that he is currently indigent. So his lawyer, who is not court appointed. He had court appointed for a while, but a lawyer named Dean Stewart represents him, will now get paid what a pauper lawyer would get paid to take care of his case. Good luck, Michael Avenatti.
He was on every show, and they could not kowtow to him enough.
Somebody totaled up he was on MSNBC like 100 times. Overall, he was on TV 200 plus times, 280 plus times.
Lamborghini just unveiled a new supercar known as the Essenza SC-V12. Owners won't be able to legally drive on any public streets or roads. And that's why if you buy one of these Lamborghinis, they recommend that you let the company keep it for you in a special garage at the company's headquarters in Italy. So they want you to keep your...
you pay for the car and you go visit it when you visit Italy.
Owners will have access to secure webcam feed so they can look at the car whenever they want.
Aww.
If they want to drive the car, Lamborghini will arrange for it to be transported to almost any racetrack in the world, and the owner will be able to drive it there. Lamborghini will also provide a professional race car driver to provide coaching in how to get the most speed and enjoyment from their V12 supercar.
If you don't buy the car, can you just buy the video feed and pretend you own the car?
Let's see. The Lamborghini did not give a price for this car, but they said it will be priced similar to the company's other limited edition models, and those go for anywhere from $1.9 million to $2 million. And you can watch it on TV.
Anytime you want.
And what would it cost, let's ship the car to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I want to drive 5 laps. And they ship it from Italy. They unload it at Indianapolis. You drive it, probably kill yourself.
Or who knows what it costs to rent the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I think they would show up with cameras if you showed up with a Lamborghini, but it would take certain skills to drive that vehicle.
By now, this is a well-known story. It occurred Saturday and involved the Indiana Fire Department. Geis Reservoir, if you don't know, is a large reservoir, provides Indianapolis with water. It's north of Indianapolis. And the Indianapolis Fire Department rescue team was exercising its underwater skills when it got
They didn't have a leg to stand on. This was a bad case.
already. He just hopped right to it.
I hopped to it. I had this sinking sensation.
A woman in her 40s, doesn't say how, but she lost her titanium carbon fiber prosthetic leg in Geis Reservoir in an area known as the Family Cove. The leg is worth $20,000, high-tech stuff. The crew, so I guess somebody knew the crew was there, found them, said, hey, you guys want to train by going to find the leg? They searched for over an hour and were just about to give up, going one last sweep when they found it. That would be miraculous, a little bit of a needle in the haystack kind of a deal. I have since heard of another story similar in Missouri, and then some guy in Vermont lost his prosthetic leg while skydiving. After the story came out, the farmer who owned the fields went out, looked at his field, and found that guy's leg.
There was a story that this girl had faked a kidnapping and claimed to give the identity of some unknown black man and described the car. I thought it was pretty scammy to begin with because there was this tape saying I've been trapped and this, that, and the other. I said, if you got your phone, you might want to call 911 and not speechify about
Post it.
not post it. So it's a terrible story, but this
I've been kidnapped.
this is a scam that has Chinese students faking their own kidnappings. Australian police are warning of a new scam targeting Chinese students. They are asked to fake their own kidnapping to force their families to pay ransom money. Hello, Mom. Hello, Dad. I've been kidnapped.
Hello, Mater.
Hello, Father.
I've been kidnapped.
In Camp Grenada.
So much for the entertainment portion of the show.
We probably owe royalties, don't we?
Well, we probably ought to go to the first break here on Legal News and Views.
And not come back.
97.7 FM WAOV 812-882-3737. Your ticket to enlightenment. Call now, and when we get back, you will be our priority.
Here's some marketing information from TOC Media and the original company radio stations. Why should you advertise? Your store's been here forever. Everybody knows about you. You're doing just fine without advertising. Don't kid yourself. There are lots of reasons to advertise. Number one, you must advertise to reach new customer. The market changes constantly. New families move in the area, mean new potential customers for you or your competition. Customers' income levels are constantly changing, which means lifestyles in change, needs and buying habits change also. You must advertise continuously. Shoppers don't have the same store loyalty they once had. Automobiles give shoppers mobility and freedom. The National Retail Merchants Association says mobility and non-loyalty are rampant. Stores must promote to get former customers to return and to attract new ones. You must advertise to influence shoppers throughout the buying cycle. People often go from store to store comparing prices, quality, and service. Advertising must reach them consistently through the entire decision-making process. For example, the average car purchase, a 13-week cycle. Your name must remain fresh in the ears and minds when people ultimately decide to buy. And you must advertise because it pays off over a long period of time. Your advertising today is selling customers whose buying decisions may be weeks or months away. Advertising gives you a long-term advantage over competitors who cut back or cancel their advertising. TOC Direct Media, radio, audio, print, video, digital, web, events, and creativity. Go online now to originalcompany.com. Click on Contact Us.
And we're back. Legal News and Views. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave. Now, that last commercial, do you guys sell creativity or just rent it? Ah, good. Good to know. Thanks. I need to rent some creativity.
I think you're beyond that.
How about this?
Yeah.
This is out of New Zealand. You know, the Karen phenomenon where privileged, perhaps middle-aged white women start screaming at people, and I need to see the manager. It's kind of a joke unless they do something outrageous. But Domino's Pizza in New Zealand has stopped a promotion offering free pizzas for great people named Karen. The pizza chain launched the promotion in New Zealand and Australia earlier this week, saying all mask-wearing, law-abiding Karens that aren't, Karens, were eligible to enter online for a chance to win a free pizza. Received a lot of complaints that the promotion was what you would say insensitive, so they pulled the offer. So if you are a nice Karen and you are in the New Zealand, Australia pizza area, it's 30 days or it's free, mate. I don't know. That's a long way.
Well, I think, wasn't Sheila the Australian term for any woman?
Woman, yes, Sheila.
She's a Sheila. Oh, UN, United Nations. And one of the reasons to do this show is I learned things I never knew before. There is something called Inner City Press, an online company that specializes in corruption at the United Nations. And about a month ago, it published a video showing a UN car in Israel with a woman in a very tight red dress straddled the side of a man, which led the UN to immediately dismiss two male, I guess, employees who had been in the car, and now a third one has been dismissed as a result of the video, all for having engaged in misconduct, including conduct of a sexual nature. So who said the UN was boring? Huh? Just
So I guess they would have diplomatic impunity.
ooh.
Story from Miami. 2 residents of the Florida Keys have been put in jail because they failed to quarantine after testing positive for the coronavirus. Joseph Entrian and Johanna Gonzalez, he's 24, she's 26, are facing charges of violating isolation rules, quarantine, and violating emergency management disaster preparedness rules. They were arrested Wednesday in Key West. Miami Herald reports that they had been ordered by the health department to quarantine after testing positive, but neighbors ratted them out and said they're not quarantining. Someone videotaped the couple, gave it to Key West police. There were complaints from the neighbors of them continuing to be outside. So how did the neighbors know they were under a Board of Health quarantine order? Aren't there still privacy rules? And anyway,
HIPAA?
the Florida Key Island chain was closed to non-residents for 2 months in the spring to keep outsiders out. I suppose on a public health emergency police basis, you could arrest people for violating a quarantine order. But that's one of the things that caused our governor to backtrack on the masking rule, is they tried to make it a misdemeanor, and I think correctly was pointed out to them that you're the governor, you execute and enforce orders, the legislature passes laws, so you can't, by the stroke of a pen, make something a criminal act.
Yes, it's a government, a limited government, all across the board. No one has such powers alone. Well, New York City...
We need a king, said no one ever.
No.
Discuss.
New York City having somewhat of a criminal meltdown. Felonies are up almost double.
They should get rid of some more police. That would
Well,
help.
here's a series of stories to give you an idea. This first one comes from Brooklyn. A 77-year-old man was headed to his Brooklyn home, probably an apartment, when a man in 20 to 30s followed him into his home, pulled out a knife, threatened him, and then told him to get in a parked car outside, drove him to an ATM at Chase Bank where he withdrew $1,800 and gave it to the guy with the knife. There's photographs, but apparently the suspect is COVID averse. He was wearing a very nice mask.
So he was compliant.
He was compliant, but nevertheless, that doesn't go over well anywhere, and not even in New York City, that you would be followed into your home by someone who then drives you to an ATM and says, withdraw your money. More, but I'll come back to my theme after you.
Indiana has stopped. They were going to do an online bar exam because of COVID, and now they're canceling that, and you get to take your bar exam to become a lawyer, admitted to the Indiana bar. They're going to do it over email. Michigan's ExamSoft platform got hacked, so the Michigan bar, they were taking the test, it got hacked, so that was a real problem. Indiana's ILG-based platform never got off the ground. Testing on Friday wouldn't work. So they were just doing a test run, and it crashed. So the state delayed the exam a week to work out the kinks, but reports indicated this week's tests weren't any better. The Indiana Supreme Court pulled the plug entirely by way of an order released recently. The Indiana bar exam will now be open book and run over email. So you can have your books and your notes, and you have to, there's some kind of a timed system where you have to answer the question, so you can't, run out to the library and do extensive research. So there are some limits on how much the notes.
Our young intern, Patrick Toole, was telling me that Michigan gave its bar exam online.
Hacked.
And during the middle of the exam, it went down, crashed.
Well, one of your partners said, if that had happened to me after I spent 3 months, every waking minute studying and memorizing, and they said, never mind, it's open book, he would have been vexed. And I told him, learning is its own reward. Oh. He scoffed at me.
Well, I think he was kind of surprised at the message given the messenger.
Well, I can deliver pizzas too.
All right, back to New York City. We're going to go to Queens this time, and our next two stories are in delis. This deli in Queens.
Is it a new deli or an old deli?
It's an old deli in Queens. 136 Deli and Grill on Springfield Boulevard. Well, inside is a man named Thurston, Jeffrey Thurston. In comes Malachi Capers, who's 20 years old and had played college football, was a star, even was drafted by the Buffalo Bills. He, according to the video, brushes Thurston, who's sipping a drink. Thurston hits Caper in the arm as retaliation for the bump. Thurston looks at his cell phone, but then sucker punch Capers. Thurston runs for the door. This Capers again is a defensive end for Buffalo State.
That means he's slow?
And then they moved outside. Jeffrey Thurston pulls out a pistol and shoots Capers before fleeing the scene. Capers is in critical condition. The two never had met before, did not see each other. It all started with someone brushing someone else's arm.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, he threw out the commemorative pitch at this game, and he got the most single-day sales of Topps baseball cards. All-time best-selling baseball card is of him throwing out the first pitch. The baseball card manufacturer announced Monday that their sale of a limited edition card featuring the doctor throwing the Major League Baseball's opening pitch sold out at more than 51,000 cards, breaking the previous records. I don't know if you saw the pitch, but they say because he's a public health expert, he threw the pitch because he doesn't want anybody to catch anything. It killed me.
Well, I like the headline that said he was unhittable.
Oh, that's true. It was a little wide. but he has other skills.
Just a bit outside. We go back to New York City, this time Staten Island. Again, a deli. All police know is from the video, which shows a man coming into the deli at Staten Island, packed with customers. The man pulls out a gun, turns, and shoots dead another man in the deli. As far as police can figure out at this time, because they're still searching for the shooter, is that these people did not know each other. The victim lived less than 600 feet from where he was gunned down. Murders citywide are up 180% year over year, with 14 reported between July 20 and 26. Shooting incidents have also spiked by over 175%. New York City's a mess.
With COVID, juries are being affected too when the lawyers are selecting jurors. This story says that they were selecting jurors over Zoom, and the jurors were exercising, curled up on beds, doing all kinds of things while they were being interviewed to see whether they were appropriate to sit on a jury. Hey, just a second, I gotta go see a man about a horse. He wasn't even a farmer. Very strange.
Let's take our half-hour break here on Legal News and Views, 97.7 FM.
He's pushing you, Scott.
WAOV. Call us, 812-882-3737, and we'll be back with what you want to know.
From the 97.7 WAOV News Center, I'm Tom Lee reporting. Both Knox County Council and various Knox County departments are preparing for budget hearings in September. Both council and department heads alike are dealing with lowered revenue due to the coronavirus pandemic. According to Councilman Harry Nolting, pandemic-related issues will affect the county budget not just in 2021, but also in 2022. Council members will hold budget hearings this year in mid-September. The annual Reads Across America mobile exhibit has moved both its dates and times for its display in Vincennes. The exhibit will now be at the Indiana Military Museum this Sunday, with a move to Patrick Henry Square the next day, Monday, August 3rd, to be at the museum from 10 to 4 on Sunday, and with Monday hours working with Vincennes Food Truck Mondays. By the way, this year's Wreaths Across America wreath-laying event set for Saturday, December the 19th. NDOT will start a railroad crossing repair on State Road 58 in Carlisle. That'll be Wednesday, August 5th. Crossing will be closed for crossing resurfacing. The project will last about 4 days, weather permitting. Local traffic, though, will have access to the point of closure. More news available anytime at newsknoxcounty.com. I'm Tom Lee, WAOV News.
Markets were riled early today with news the U.S. second quarter GDP dropped nearly a third. But corn and soybeans survived the day. This is Hoosier Ag Today's Thursday closing farm market report. A rough go for equities and energies today, but in the ag markets there was some positive movement, even with disappointing corn export sales. Soybean exports exceeded expectations, and U.S. corn logged the largest single-day sale to China ever, giving that market a boost, and we finished about flat. September corn 3.15 3/4, up a quarter. Dees up a half cent, 3.26 3/4. August soybeans 8.91 3/4, up a quarter. Novi 8.88 1/4, up 3 cents. Down 3 1/4. September wheat 5.29 1/2. October live cattle 106.75, up 70. But October lean hogs $1.50 lower, 48.32. I'm Andy Eubank, Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.
Local realtor Kathy Hauk, FC Tucker Emge, is client-focused and result-driven. Whether you're buying or selling a home, keep calm and relax as Kathy has your back. Call Kathy Hauk at 881-5735.
The IHSAA says play away. The IHSA says not so fast. I'm Tom Lee with the WAOV Radio Sports Beat. The IHSAA has given the green light to conduct fall sports as originally planned. In a short document released yesterday, the IHSAA has set up a 3-phase return to athletic programs. Girls golf will kick things off on Friday. Other practice periods begin on Monday of next week. with girls golf beginning on Monday of next week, all other sports to begin August the 15th. The state of Illinois, though, has moved fall football, soccer, and volleyball competitions to springtime. The new list also condensed the seasons for winter and spring competitions. He also added summertime play. That will be for baseball and softball. That'll be between May 3rd and June the 26th. The schedule was announced by the Illinois High School Association. That's a check of sports. I'm Tom Lee for 97.7 WAOV Sports. A Parkinson support group is meeting in Vincennes. Here's another community event on WAOV. The Parkinson support group will be meeting from 6 to 8 p.m. on the first Tuesday of every month in room 142 of the Workforce One building at 1002 North First Street on the Vincennes University campus. For more information, call Wilma at 812-890-8928. Again, the Parkinson support group meeting 6 to 8 p.m. on the first Tuesday of every month at the Work One building in Vincennes.
Hi, this is Karen from Apple Hill Orchard. We're now open for the season. Beat the heat with an apple cider slushie. Grab a homemade peach pie and some apple cider cake donuts. Homegrown peaches and local Knox County produce. Come see us at Apple Hill Orchard.
From the George Anslin Financial Advisor Edward Jones Weather Center. Forecast for this afternoon, cloudy skies with showers, maybe even a thunderstorm. Highs in the upper 70s. Cloudy tonight, showers likely, maybe even a thunderstorm. Lows in the mid 60s. And tomorrow, cloudy, 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms. We're looking for highs in the lower 80s. That's your forecast from the talk of the town. 97.7 FM, WAOV.
And we're back. Legal news and views. I'm Jeff.
Dave here.
Time now for that regularly scheduled segment of the program known as
Least Competent Criminals.
Thank you. We have two nominees this week. We're going to start with Wendy Wine. She's 51 years of age, lives in South Rockwood, Michigan. Wendy had a problem, and like anybody, she turned to the internet. However, Wendy's problem was she wanted to get rid of her husband, now her ex-husband, but she went to the internet and by and by found the website called rentahitman.com. She contacted rentahitman.com and completed a form requesting a consultation and naming her ex-husband as the target. The owner of the website has said it's been up for about 15 years, and he's been contacted a number of times by people wanting someone killed, and he always turns those requests over to law enforcement. Michigan State Police officer, spokesperson, said, can't believe she thought it was a real website. Police set up a state trooper to meet with her, and Wendy has been arrested for offering the state trooper $5,000 to off the ex-husband, even giving the state trooper money for travel expenses. Very generous. All right, our number two nominee is Robert Berger. Now, Robert, he is having legal problems in Huntington, New York. He had stolen a Lexus, and he was caught attempting to steal a truck. And he had an appearance date in court. His lawyer showed up with a death certificate saying, Robert is dead. The court looked at the death certificate, noted several misspellings and inconsistencies, and turned it over to specialists who said, yeah, no, this is a fake death certificate. Not only to mention that while Berger was dead, he was arrested in Philadelphia for providing false identity to police and stealing from a Catholic college. Never is faking death, I think, a good idea. I don't think it has ever worked.
Is that what happened to Epstein?
He's faking his death?
These two guys, longtime friends, Joe Feeney and Tom Cook, made a deal back in 1992 based on a handshake. If either one of us ever wins the U.S. Powerball lottery, they would share it. 30 years went by, the numbers came up for Tom, and he honored the deal. Joe said he was stunned when his friend called to say they were sharing the $22 million jackpot. He called me and I said, are you, well, I can't say what he said. Well, yeah, that's what he meant. It's kind of, this is a...
WTF.
Yeah. Are you jerking my bobber? I guess that's like a fisherman.
My bobber.
Well, he's a fisherman.
Okay.
So they were men of honor. Now, he's given up 11 mil. So, would the first lottery winner be subject to gift tax on the 11 mil he gave away, plus income tax on all of it?
That is why you don't say, "Oh, I've won it, I'm giving it away."
That's what I thought.
You'd say, "Oh, we've won it."
Me and my trust.
Yeah, or some kind of entity, which Indiana allows, other states do not. But the winner could be like an LLC, and no one knows who the owners of the LLC are.
I forget what country this was, but to keep his identity secret, he showed up at the lottery office dressed as Darth Vader to accept the proceeds.
Well, this is a too common story. It's airlines and whether or not passengers should be wearing masks. My own family has many stories about this, with some passengers being very aggressive, saying, "He's not wearing a mask," and other passengers not wearing masks saying, "I don't have to."
So when the oxygen drops down, they still have that position. I'm not wearing a mask.
Well, Delta.
They are the blue passengers.
Delta has had quite a few stories, sometimes turning the plane around because of a passenger who was being belligerent, and in this case, kicking the passenger off before they even took off. It was a Delta flight from Aruba to Atlanta. The anonymous passenger became agitated because the flight attendant said, "You must wear a mask." He tried to talk to the pilot, and I don't know if that worked out. But then after finding out he must wear a mask, he apparently tried to get the other passengers to some kind of uprising. However, according to one of the other passengers, he then let out with the most graphic language you could possibly imagine. He was escorted off the aircraft to the cheers of the other passengers. Now, here's also the deal. Delta requires masks, but says, in a recent change, you are not to wear face mask if the plane has exhaust valves. Now that's, I think, now an older plane, but it used to be the adjustment above your head.
Every plane I've ever been on, except in the military, has that.
Well, not the newer 737s, I don't think so.
The ones that are grounded because they crash a lot?
Only the MAX is grounded. That's kind of a misnomer. The 737 comes in different configurations.
Those that fly and those that are grounded.
Yeah.
I may have told this story last week. It's out of Utah. Detectives have found a notarized letter they believe was written by a man whose body had been in a freezer in a Utah apartment. He wrote the note. That was nice of him. Now, I don't know how he got in the freezer. The note discovered Monday appears to have been written by Paul Edward Mathers, 69, whose body was found inside a freezer after police found his wife dead of natural causes in the apartment. That's just got to be a fun-filled day if you're the police. Hey, got one in the freezer. But handwriting experts have not verified the signature, and the woman who notarized the letter, dated December 2008, told police she did not read it before stamping and signing it. Investigators are looking into the possibility the couple devised the scheme together before he died, or that the woman forged the letter. They're waiting on evidence that includes medical and financial records. Investigators previously said they were looking at whether Mathers' wife wanted to keep collecting her husband's Social Security and Veterans Affairs checks after he's died. So it doesn't look like they were investigating the deceased for murder, but she just threw him in the freezer. And then you worry about power outages, I suppose.
The American Family Association is a conservative Christian group based in Tupelo, Mississippi. Apparently has a Facebook presence, and on May of 2019, Chase Davis, age 21 of Pompano Beach, sent them 2 threatening messages, including, I'm getting a group together and we're going to kill every single person who runs your group. And the second one said, I mean literally kill you. The American Family Association complained to Facebook, who texted back, this was not a policy violation. Apparently, however, it is a crime. Chase Davis has been sentenced to 6 months in prison and to serve 400 hours of community service, pay $1,440 in restitution to American Family Association, and serve a 3-year term of supervised release. Not sure what Facebook is thinking, but I'm sure AFA is happy that they don't have to worry about him for at least 6 months.
Story out of Minneapolis. A Minnesota Muslim woman had received $120,000 to settle her lawsuit, alleging she was forced to strip in jail and remove her hijab. That's the full body covering.
No, that's just the facial covering.
That's the whole thing's a hijab. The burqa type thing.
Yeah, that's the whole
I
thing.
need to study up on that.
Yeah.
They wanted her bookend photo over a traffic offense. The woman and her attorneys said she was in St. Louis Park in Minnesota, appeared with her attorneys at the Minneapolis headquarters of the Council of American Islamic Relations. So, if you have a religious objection to showing your face or being photographed, I don't know. I know some religious sects don't have to put their pictures on driver's license. Is that still?
They don't have, they can wear the covering.
So if you are.
Now, the French said they couldn't, and that was kind of a big deal.
That was a wee problem.
Berlin, Germany, once pointed out as having mastered the COVID-19, having a resurgence like just about every country in the world, and having a hard time making people wear masks in public. Let's see. Okay, they were wearing their mask incorrectly. The Berlin Transport Company, VVG, is suggesting now that its riders skip deodorant so that when they get on the bus, people will wear their masks over their nose the way they're supposed to. Given that so many people think they can wear their mask under their nose, we're getting tough. Reads a bright yellow posting. We're calling for a general deodorant waiver, so now do you still want to have your nose uncovered?
Mark Rober is very bad at darts, but he gets perfect scores every time. He spent 3 years creating a dartboard that no matter where you throw the dart, it tracks the dart, and with a 6-motor XYZ system moves the board after it predicts where it lands, and then you get a bullseye. That guy's got a
lot of time on his hands.
Super engineer, and I don't know what fun would it be to become intoxicated and throw darts if we get the bullseye every
I don't
time.
see a use either recreationally or business.
Think military.
Military.
Trust me.
All right. Well, we'll take our third break here on Legal News and Views, 97.7 FM WAOV. Again, you can call 812-882-3737, and hopefully we'll be able to answer your question.
As Indiana returns to work, the Indiana union construction industry remains focused on getting the job done so our communities can get back on track. For over 100 years, our contractors and skilled tradesmen and women built and maintained Indiana's hospitals, highways, bridges, schools, and utilities, essential infrastructure that keeps our state moving forward during all conditions. And when safety is a top priority, we're ready for whatever it takes to rebuild our economy. We built Indiana's past, and we're here to build Indiana's tomorrow. The Indiana Union Construction Industry. Value on display every day.
Hi, I am Ralph Copley of the Indiana Ironworkers Local 22. When you see the new buildings going up around you, they begin with a foundation and a structure. Our members are the people who build the backbone of most of the new buildings you see today. Indiana Ironworkers Local 22, skilled on principle, union by choice.
The Ice Melt Contest is back. Go to WZDM.com and guess how long it will take a 5-gallon block of ice to melt. The person with the guess closest to when the ice completely melts wins a prize package, including 2 Holiday World tickets. The ice will be at the Vincennes Watermelon Festival on Saturday, August 8th from 5 a.m. until it's gone. Be sure to submit your guess by 11 a.m. on Saturday at WZDM.com. It's the WZDM Ice Melt Contest. What's more exciting than watching ice melt?
You're listening to the most diverse and interesting radio station in the entire area, 1450 AM and 97.7 FM WAOV. Mornings from 5 to 10 a.m., it's the Bob and Tom Show. Knox County Today with local newsmakers from 10 to 11:30 daily. The midday edition, a wrap-up of the day's news from 11:30 to noon with Tom Lee. Then it's Rush Limbaugh from 12 to 3, local talk from 3 to 4, including Ask the Designer, The Mark and Mark Show, and Legal News and Views. From 4 to 7 each evening, it's the Sean Hannity program. 7 to 10 at night, Dave Ramsey. 10 until after midnight, the Jim Bohannon Show. And then it's the paranormal from coast to coast. All here at 1450 AM and 97.7 FM WAOV.
And we're back, Legal News and Views. I'm Jeff.
Dave here.
Still time for your call, 812-882-3737. Washington gives us the fact situation where in 1993, 15-year-old Melissa Lee was abducted, strangled, and thrown off a bridge 27 years ago. They now have made an arrest. Alan Edward Dean, 35 at the time, 62 now, has been arrested. The investigators say they used DNA evidence from a genealogical kit to connect Dean to Lee's death. So what are we talking about here? Well, they don't have Dean's DNA. But a company called Parabon Nanolabs in Virginia was able to take DNA that was found at the crime scene and look at its database, and based on its database, find close relatives of Dean. At the time, Dean lived about 4 miles from the site of the bridge, worked for Boeing. The police are still asking people if you know of any information related to Dean, especially around this period of time, to come forward. But they held on $2 million bail.
Sorry, I was playing a game.
Did I surprise you?
No. Apparently, these people have a lot of time on their hands too. They've discovered chewing gum from 5,700 years ago. A paleontologist at the University of Copenhagen says a student brought it to him from a Stone Age site in Denmark and asked if they could get DNA out of this wad of nearly 6,000-year-old chewing gum.
Jurassic gum.
We don't know, haven't really tried to give it a try. The researchers think ancient people chewed the black-brown substance known as birch pitch, which was obtained by heating birch bark. He says it's not clear why they chewed it, but it was likely to soften it up before using it as a kind of glue to stick sharp points onto weapons or tools. They may have even used it for medicinal purposes. They call it the first chewing gum, so if they did get DNA, I suppose they could clone some 5,700-year-old person, and they would look around and say, "Yep, going back. See ya."
63-year-old Simon Saw Tung Ong headed the University of Arkansas's, let's see, it's got a fancy name here, something about High Density Electronics Center. Don't ask me what that means, but he was the head of it. Now charged with some 42 counts of wire fraud and 2 counts of passport fraud by a grand jury. Turns out, while he headed this group that got government grants and NASA grants, they say he was working for the Chinese. He did did not disclose his connections to Chinese businesses, some of which he was part owner of. And he would have people at his lab working on Chinese projects. He's facing 20 years in prison for each wire fraud charge, so that would be 800 years, and up to 10 years in prison for each passport fraud. China recognized him in 2016 as a national distinguished expert, and so I don't know that he was exactly deep undercover. We did the story before about the Harvard professor, Charles Lieber, who has also been charged of lying about his connections with China. China continues to try and steal anything we have. Most recent is China and Russia both trying to steal COVID vaccine information from the United States, Britain, and Germany. So it's good to know that somebody is watching over these things, at least to a limited extent.
Criminal investigation closed successfully after authorities found a stolen plane, which turned out was just in the wrong hangar. Owner shows up, take his plane out, it's gone, it's stolen. So they initiate.
We've had parked car stories like that.
FBI, local airport police were called in after a report is stolen. It's one of those planes that several people own. The Cessna 172 reported stolen, according to information from the Nashville International Airport. It was found in a hangar that was not the owner's on Monday afternoon after a hangar-by-hangar search. So, it seems to me
Yes.
that you would talk to one of your co-owners and say,
Yes. Did you move this plane?
did you put the plane in the wrong hangar? Were you drinking and flying?
We lived in the dorm at Indiana University, and there was a guy named Noss, and everybody called him the pirate because he looked like a pirate, big guy. And he came in one day, and he said, I didn't sleep so well last night. Came back to my room, somebody's laying in my bed. So I threw him out, passed out.
Wrong room.
Passed out. So the next morning I got up and realized I was in the wrong room. But
The guy never came back, right?
Liberty County, Georgia, has sheriff's officers who thought they found a body next to the railroad track in Allenhurst on July 14th. They covered the body with a sheet and called the coroner. It took the coroner to identify the body as a female sex doll. It was fully clothed, anatomically correct, but it was not dead. It was just a doll.
California man has been charged after he bit off part of his father's ear during a holiday party at a Mormon church. And his father then tried to glue it back on. The younger man was taken into custody after the incident. Deputies were called to the church after a fight broke out around 6 p.m. during a holiday party. Clayton said the father, who he did not name, had tried to break up a fight between his son and a missionary. That's a great party they got going there. He then allegedly started punching his father instead and bit off a 1-inch piece of his ear. Deputies found him at the church and arrested him, but his father had gotten into the car to buy super glue. Very self-reliant. I suppose it would stick, but he would have infection problems and sawdust. I don't know, whatever Mormon parties consist of.
There is a group that tries to protect elephants in Africa called Elephants Without Borders. In Botswana, alongside the Chobe River, is a village that has battled elephants forever. The elephants kind of nocturnal. They go through the crops, trampling them, go through this village, knocking down houses. Fences and barking dogs have failed to stop the elephants. However, Elephants Without Borders, the scientists have found that disco lights, solar-powered strobe lights that flash color patterns along the side of the field elephants are known to walk through, frighten the elephants away. I'm waiting for the story where they wake up one night and it's an elephant disco. But
Is it possible for a suspect handcuffed with his hands behind him in a police car to reach his cell phone and make a call to his aunt?
Yes.
That's one of the facts in the dispute in the case. Did you say this one?
No, but the answer is yes. There are actually been several cases of people who are handcuffed, their hands behind their back, yet they're still able to reach around to the front of their body.
He dialed behind his back. That was the test. Who contends he made his call shortly before a sheriff's deputy pulled him out of the police vehicle back in June and exposed him during a search. Federal judge had determined that he must have moved his handcuffs to the front of him, posing a safety risk, and the officer and his colleagues were entitled to immunity. So they had a clerk try to dial a phone from behind his back. I asked the clerk if she could make a telephone call with her cell phone, and she did it, Wilson said. Was she sitting down in a patrol car in handcuffs? Wilson responded, if that's possible to make a cell phone call with your hands behind your back, you wouldn't say it's inconceivable to do with handcuffs on. I would have trouble. First, I use facial recognition on my phone. That's not going to work. Then I got to figure out my 16-digit code. I would have a hard time doing that.
There are certain mushrooms that you should not ingest. John Stephanopoulos, age 41, from Owensboro, Kentucky, apparently did not heed that advice. He was found standing inside of a home, naked, covered with mud and blood. Officers were rushed by Stephanopoulos as he kept yelling at him that he had used mushrooms with Jesus, and he and Jesus were playing a virtual reality video game together. He was eventually tased and taken into custody. So I'd maybe be careful with those mushrooms out there.
36-year-old Florida man was arrested for criminal possession of a firearm after telling deputies he sustained a gunshot while playing cowboy. He's a convicted felon. That's why he cannot have the gun. Shot himself in the leg with a .22 caliber handgun and was later found to be illegally possessing 4 credit cards that were not his own. The suspect was detained. According to law enforcement, made contact with the suspect after he was admitted to the hospital. I was playing cowboy. I suppose that could happen. I don't know how I explain the credit cards, though.
Andrea Balby is president of the Gondola Association in Venice, Italy. She reports that the association now limits gondolas to 5 people, saying that this is not social distancing, but because over the last 10 years, tourists weigh more, and that heavier loads often mean the boats take on water.
Weight limit on gondolas.
Yep, he says, the quote, going forward with over half a ton of meat on board is dangerous.
Yeah, that's what he calls his customers.
Then we have the story of fashion designer and activist Vivienne Westwood. She's 79 years of age. She dressed herself in canary yellow, perched on a swing inside a giant metal bird cage outside London's Old Bailey Court, and led a crowd in chanting, "Free Julian Assange." If you don't remember Julian Assange, he's the WikiLeaks guy, who along with now Chelsea Manning, did as much damage as one could do to America's secrets. Westwood claims freeing Assange would mean journalists can continue to tell the truth. I think Assange's problem is you released secrets that you knew were secrets, and you should not have. And I don't know if we're going to get music or not. There it is.
Oh, hear the music. But real quick, a driver blew up his car by lighting a cigarette moments after he sprayed too much air freshener in his car.
That's a
He blew up his car. Well, this is Legal News and Views, 97.7.
on the Farmers Insurance commercial.
Yeah, we've seen a lot. 97.7 FM WAOV. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. I'm Dave.
I'm Jeff, and we'll see you next week.
On June 20th. Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. President Trump tweeting this morning about delaying the election.